Jeff Klein's latest hotel project protects celebrities and power brokers with a ban on cameraphones. West Hollywood, Caliph, the problem with stardom, most any star will tell you, is you can't turn it off anymore. Certain protocols used to apply when it came to sightings of famous folk in public. But that was in the bygone days of the Brown Derby or Chasins, about a billion creepshots ago. Now, of course, it is next to impossible for people like Jennifer Aniston or Justin Timberlake to do the boringly normal stuff the rest of us take for granted. And that realization was at the core of an idea the hotelier Jeffrey Klein had for a personal second act. After more than a decade operating the celebrity petting zoo that is Sunset Tower Hotel and its now storied Tower Bar, Mr. Klein understood better than most that the one craving that famous people cannot satisfy is to get their anonymity back. Privacy is the new luxury, Mr. Klein said one chilly recent morning, a week after he opened the doors on his latest project, a private club whose membership is largely composed of strangers you know by name. It has been 15 years since Mr. Klein and his partners paid $18 million for the Sunset Tower, a faded Art Deco relic on a stretch of Sunset Strip that, although now booming, had fallen into funky desuetude. Against most odds and all prevailing wisdom, he soon established it and its Tower Bar restaurant as essential landmarks of the new Hollywood. The Tower Bar, in particular, quickly evolved into the preferred watering hole of studio moguls, literary agents, fashion designers, power brokers and A-list movie stars, who prized Mr. Klein's ability to reconcile the paradox that the famous experience the same giddiness we all do when exposed to others of their kind. Unlike ordinary mortals, though, they also yearn to recapture the privacy whose loss is the price tag of modern celebrity. With no fixed ambition to do so, Mr. Klein eased into the role of social Hollywood's de facto gatekeeper, sort of like a cross between Billy Haynes and George Cukor with a little Pearl Mesta, as the screenwriter John Robin Bates said, referring to a film star turned decorator, an Oscar-winning director and the Washington hostess who inspired Call Me Madam, the 1950 Irving Berlin musical. And for the past 13 years, ever since the Sunset Tower was painstakingly restored to its Art Deco glory, as the New York Times once noted, nobody got a power tea able at its cozy wood-paneled restaurant without going through Mr. Klein's right-hand man, Dmitry Dimitrov, 68, a Macedonian immigrant and career maitre d', himself renowned for an uncanny ability to diagram the fluctuations of Hollywood power, and equally for courtesy so mannered as to evoke kabuki. For years, Vanity Fair held its Oscars night party at his hotel, along with the more stellar one given by the powerful talent agency CAA. And for years, Mr. Klein was approached by investors eager to replicate the Sunset Tower's success. I could have slapped my name on 1,000 things and rolled out new properties, he said. But I didn't want to do just another hotel. Instead, Mr. Klein pursued a challenge equal to that first presented by the Sunset Tower. I like dumps, and I like places with ghosts, he said. Both, as it happened, were to be found under his nose at a druggy, clothing-optional motel complex blocks away from Sunset Tower in West Hollywood, a cluster of bungalows erected in the late 19th century as housing for workers laying railway lines to the coast. Not everyone would have detected in this collection of listing frame structures the potential for a private club that would make getting into Tower Bar seem almost as easy as grabbing a booth at IHOP. But Mr. Klein had long nurtured a dream of recreating in Los Angeles a members-only gathering place on the order of Annabelle's, a London nightclub founded in 1963 in what had been a coal cellar by the aristocratic British entrepreneur Mark Burleigh and distinguished by a clientele that, over the years, included royals and Frank Sinatra, Aristotle Onassis and Kate Moss. Not coincidentally, this interest coincided with a growing trend in Los Angeles, as elsewhere, for people to come together in upscale public settings not unlike social versions of a gated community. Clubs are far from new in Los Angeles, of course, their long history likely beginning with the gentlemen-only California Club, which opened over a livery stable in 1887, followed 8 years later with establishment of the staid Jonathan Club, whose headquarters still occupy almost a block of prime real estate in the city's downtown, with another outpost on an unrivaled stretch of beach in Santa Monica. But it was Soho House that jolted the social landscape of Los Angeles with its opening nearly 10 years ago in a glassbox building along Sunset Boulevard just shy of Beverly Hills. They invited me and John to be founding members and I said no, Mr. Klein said, referring to his husband, John Goldwyn, a producer and scion of the film family. I thought I would never want to be a member of a private club, he added, or even, as Groucho Marx once said, any club that will have me as a member. That perspective shifted, Mr. Klein said, when membership in Soho House boomed and the agents, actors, producers, publicists and studio executives that had long patronized his restaurant and hotel began clamoring to get in. It pricked up my ears to see how successful it was, Mr. Klein said. Rather than a membership roster drawn from a relatively broad swath of the local population, however, Mr. Klein envisioned for the San Vicente Bungalows a more tightly edited group of those representing the ecosystem he knows best, one composed principally of apex predators. There's nothing elite about it, Mr. Klein told this reporter, as though testing for plausibility an assertion that fails to square with the fact that the advisory committee at San Vicente Bungalows is reputed to include some of the most prominent names in the art, fashion and entertainment industries. Annual dues, for that matter, are $4,200 for members over 35. It was a chilly afternoon and Mr. Klein, 48, was seated in the forecourt of his new 9-bungalow complex dressed in a tan Baglioli blazer, a Brunello Cucinelli button-down and a rumpled pair of Acne jeans. The San Vicente Club was fresh from a 6-year renovation estimated to have cost $50 million, nearly $2 million of it allocated for gardens in which transplanted, century-old California pepper trees now shade lattice walls of espaliered kumquats, and there were glitches.